All right, welcome back to the Legends Fantasy Football Podcast, where opinions are loud, receipts are kept, and nobody is safe. My name is Scott, and I'm welcoming to the show today. We have Kyle from Clubhouse Fantasy Sports. Kyle, thanks for joining with us. We also have fourth year Shea coming back to the podcast. Welcome, fellas. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for joining. Uh, I was kind of looking at your some of your videos. A lot of them went controversial on your trade aspects when it comes down to fantasy football. You made a couple really good points. As far as trading, you said that with the NFL is basically harder to trade than fantasy, or easier to trade than fantasy football. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, absolutely, man. I've been thinking about trading in fantasy football for a decade of my life. I wish I had other things to do with my free time, but this is it. This is all I've devoted my time and effort to. In fantasy football, the way that I normally play, I do redraft every year because I play with a bunch of friends from high school that aren't the biggest football fans. We just all play basketball together and we want to stay in touch. We like fantasy football because the draft is fun. And then I always felt like trading was incredibly frustrating. In redraft, standard redraft fantasy football, you have 12 competing teams. They're all contending for that year. There is no next year, right? In that environment, trading a player for a player straight up almost never happens in real sports. Two contending teams trading player for player almost never happens. I think the most recent example I can think of that is in football. It was the Champ Bailey trade. I forget who with the running back. It was like Champ Bailey for a running back back in like 2005 or something like that, where there's just positional need, two contending teams swap players, player for player, no other assets. Most trades look like a contending team trades with a rebuilding team a package of assets for a win now player. That is how 90% of trades work. You look at the Christian McCaffrey trade a couple years ago, that was young players, cap relief, draft picks, and then the 49ers got the best running back in football at the time. You know, that is a standard trade. So I'm looking at this as a game, like a Monopoly or something like that. And I'm saying, wow, it's actually, they're forcing you into the hardest type of trade to make in sports, the player for player trade between two contending teams. That is like in Monopoly, if they made it harder to buy a house in Monopoly than if you were to just buy one in real life. Like there'd be more paperwork and more lawyers. No one will play that fucking game. But everybody plays fantasy football because the idea of it is so fun. It's so engaging to like watch football and play fantasy football. But the mechanics of trading, what I think is the second most fun thing after the draft, the mechanics of trading just are broken. That is why I've spent the last couple of years building out Clubhouse Fantasy Sports. We're just trying to fix the mechanical issues that we see with trading in standard redraft. So,
and do you have a trading app? Did I read that right? That you developed or you use, or how does that work?
oh yeah, I actually with the last 2 years I've spent building out. Originally, I was trying to build it out myself. I don't know how to code. It's not in my wheelhouse. But I've actually got a development team. They both have 10 years of experience doing development. They've actually built out the app. We have the first, I believe, 10 leagues filled out. We have room for 20 this year. I think we have 240 players that can play. We have about 400 signed up right now. But it's all built around this idea of let's mechanically fix the issue with trading. That's what Clubhouse Fantasy Sports is. It's basically a new way to play the game.
That's awesome.
Yeah, usually you're running into where, to your point, Go, going heavyweights up at the top of any league, they're pretty much standing pat. They're trying to pick off the bottom tier of the guys in the league, or guys and girls, excuse me, and just trying to get that one extra low player, maybe two for one deal, and trying to push themselves over the edge. So it's rare, like you said, trying to get that extra player and going with another championship contending team.
Honestly, the thing that always bugged me the most is that all of the leverage in a trade is on the team that is better, right? If you're a really good team in a redraft league, and like say your bench, all the players on your bench could start on other teams that season, your best move is actually just to keep them on your bench and keep them away from other players, which is great strategy. Like if you're playing to win, if this is a high money league and you're playing with really competitive players, you do whatever it takes to win. You go do that. Again, I mostly play with a bunch of guys that maybe watch one football game a week and just like being in the group chat with each other. Like we just like talking shit with each other. In that situation, I'm like, well, you're just withholding fun from other players in the league. We have this whole marketplace mechanic where we do like every player has a salary that they get from an auction draft. So if you draft a player for $50, his salary is $50. If during the season I amass more money than that, I can make a bid on like Shea. Let's say you got a $50 player, I can make a $60 bid. Now you either have to take $10 and match that offer, or we have to work out a deal. If no deal is reached, I get the player for that amount of money, and then you have to use the money next week to go get another player. So you no longer have the leverage in that situation of doing absolutely nothing. It's pretty easy to
you're
get
basically
$10.
taking the leverage away. Yeah.
You're giving leverage to the guy trying to make the trade, because the logic is the guy trying to make the trade is the guy trying to make the game more fun for everybody. Because trade negotiations, they spiral out of control super fast. You know, we have situations where somebody has to come up with $10. All of a sudden, they're calling all 11 other players in the league trying to work out a better deal than the one they might be forced into. And it creates chaos. It creates these situations where you have these 3-team trades that take 3 hours to negotiate, and you're just talking with your friends the whole time. It's fun for me. It's maybe not the most competitive way to play, but in terms of the most fun I've had playing, easily.
That's awesome. And what is that run off of usually? That's off of your software?
Yeah, we built the whole thing out. We had to rebuild.
Got it.
We're trying to make it as close to like a Sleeper or an ESPN or Yahoo as possible with our new mechanics just kind of built in. And just, you know, it's working pretty well right now. The development team has actually really hit it out of the park. I obviously couldn't do this on my own, so shout outs to that.
Yeah. That is awesome. I mean, there's a couple guys, especially in our league. I mean, we have 16 men. I would say about 8 to 9 are pretty good at responding within the first couple minutes of a trade when it's sent. But then there's about 4 in the league that when you send a trade, it's sitting. It's sitting for days and days and days. And whether they're just they see it and they think it's absolutely ridiculous. So they say, I'm just going to let it sit. Or they're just not really paying attention. And everyone in our league does pay attention because we've been in it so long, but it's just like the owner that in a group chat that is quiet until the last second. He's like, yeah, I knew everything you guys talked about, right? But he didn't just say anything back. So I think that's more of just a personality thing. What's the fix?
I'm a habitual trader. And I love me a good trade. And there's been, I won't name names, but there's been a few that I've sent out that just go into basically the dark abyss and don't get any response either for or against. And It's like, but I'm trying to make some moves here. Like I got to get this piece and potentially flip that piece for that piece, so I need an answer either way.
That kind of makes Kyle's system a little bit more fun in that regard because there's so much more going into it, especially, I mean, whether you included like fab money, Kyle, I don't know if that's like, obviously we use fab instead of for our free agents. You can use, hey, I'll give you $20 fab plus, Jamar Chase for, fill in the blank, right? So that would be a really interesting way. And now you're actually getting more towards, instead of player for player, like you're saying, how the NFL compared to fantasy football, instead of going for player, now you're actually adding a fab / fantasy money component, essentially. That's pretty cool, I think, if you're able to develop that side of it for sure.
So ours is trying to do 2 things, like exactly what you said, the indifferent owner situation, right? I've always pegged the 2 biggest problems with fantasy football are that nobody wants to trade and that people just stop playing midway through the season. And I get it. Sometimes you get busy. Sometimes your team just stinks and you don't care that much, but then you stop responding to trade requests. That marketplace does 2 things. I view it as sort of an enhanced fab system where fab can be used to buy waiver wire players. Ours can be used on any player in the game, on anybody else's team. And that forced negotiation means that somebody has to at least respond to your trade, which, even if they end up matching the offer and keeping their player, they're now aware that you like that guy. So later on in the game, if they need to make a deal, they might reach out to you and be like, hey, I know you bid on this guy,
So you actually incorporated that already. I didn't even know that.
That's awesome. That is really, really cool. Well, I wish you the best of luck with that. It sounds like it's amazing software and we can speak more in the future. Because I'm definitely super interested in it especially for our league and kind of how we operate. I'm going to jump into the NFL a little bit. I'm going to touch on just kind of some depth chart stuff, some teams. Not sure exactly where your fan base is or, but I'm just going to touch on 2 random teams. The first I want to touch, we had a recent signing this week of Stefon Diggs going to the Commanders. Go looking at this depth chart with Terry McLaurin, Stefon Diggs, JCM, Rashad White. There's
did this help the Commanders, or is it really does it not matter?
My gut read on it, sorry if I'm stepping out of turn here, but it's all going to come down to is Jayden Daniels going to be able to play like he did his rookie season and not like he did when he got to play last year? Like if he is that guy, or is this going to be a CJ Stroud situation where it's like he had one, because Steph Diggs is the kind of guy with a good quarterback, he's going to be a valuable asset, but he's not going to really change your offense if the guy can't stay healthy, if he can't stay in the pocket, if he can't make the throws. It's not going to change that much.
Yeah,
Got Leo.
I agree with you. Jayden Daniels was one player year one, and you make that Stroud comparison. That's a phenomenal comparison. What happened last year? I mean, I think a guy named Keith in our league had him, and I mean, just completely fell off the radar, whether the injuries or whatever. And it really does come down to Jayden Daniels and how he does. He looks good on that quarterback show on Netflix, but it's hard to say.
As somebody that spent a tremendous amount of money in my auction draft last year on Nico Collins, and specifically told everybody in the league that they got fleeced because I got Nico and he's going to have a huge year, the CJ Stroud fall off needs to be studied. That absolutely devastated my season last year.
You're right. You're 100% right. And if you look further down their depth chart, you know, they have Treylon Burks now, and they have Luke McCaffrey. Luke McCaffrey is always like this wide receiver 4. I would say in most fantasy leagues, it doesn't have much relevance, but in our league, especially because we actually add 2 roster spots and we're already at 16-man leagues,
Ooh.
Luke McCaffrey could potentially be looked at certain weeks later in the season, that bench player that you're stashing. Say Stefon Diggs gets hurt, Scary Terry gets hurt. Is he an automatic play at there? I mean, he had combine numbers. He ran the combine faster than his brother, Christian, right? He ran at 4.7. Christian was at a 4.8. He's 3.5 years younger. I understand it's not Christian McCaffrey, but obviously he's shown proven talent at times with big plays on the field. Is he worth that bench roster spot in that deep man league just to sit if one of those guys does go down?
Well, I mean, in a year where James Cook is going to be a, top running back in the league, obviously I'd pull the trigger on Christian McCaffrey's little brother. Who knows, man? Maybe it just runs in the family. And you guys, 16-man league with that many roster spots, yeah.
And you want to talk about running in the family? The oldest brother, Duke, I believe, he works he's the Chargers running back, right? So the running back coach, I should say. So Duke McCaffrey is the Chargers running back coach. He's gonna Omarion Hampton this year under Mike McDaniel. Do we see potential absolute blow up going to go off in the numbers? Top 5 running back numbers or better because of this new offense. Because of this coaching staff. I think Mike McDaniels might be showing some crazy motions with Ladd McConkey. This Chargers offense in general and Omarion Hampton could be the number 1 running back going next year into fantasy. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, my read on the Chargers is I've gone so quickly from, this is my underrated sleeper offense where I just kind of want to get as many of these people at a low budget before people realize how good they're going to be, to now, like, I'm actually feeling the other direction of, like, maybe they are at least properly rated, it seems like, and I worry that they might even get a little overrated. There are a lot of mouths to feed on that team, but, like, all the pieces are there. There's always a team every year that just kind of blows the doors off and becomes one of those go-to offenses. And they've made all the moves that, like, very much entice me as a fantasy owner.
Yeah, the thing with the Chargers is going to be the same. Those early Dolphins teams, it's all going to ride on their offensive line. Joe Alt went out last year and had a couple other major injuries across the O line, and which kind of really hampered them, especially later on in the season and getting into the playoff aspect of things. But the Dolphins early, Connor Williams, our center, went down, and that basically just created a snowball effect, for the rest of the season. So for them, especially with McDaniel running the offense he wants to run, it's all going to be based on the O-line being able to pull guard and just get downfield and get up against the second level, get to the linebackers.
He did that though when he was on the Dolphins, right? And I don't know how much of a film, watcher you are, whatnot, but some of the pulls with the guards that he was running on the Dolphins and the tackles, it was like unlike anything the NFL has ever seen, which in my opinion actually went to the success of Devon Achane. It wasn't, you don't just have one guard pulling or 2 guards pulling. If you actually look at the film breakdown, Mike McDaniel's installed the tackle pulling and 2 guards pulling. Like he did it plus a shift. That alone will trick defenses
I believe John Gruden did a big segment on this actually, of the exact breakdown of the Dolphins running game and why it was so successful. Not to say Etienne isn't a baller, because he is, but I do think that added mindset in the offense system with the O-line scheme, the pulling scheme, that will only make an Omarion Hampton that much better. And if now they start putting 8 in the box, Herbert has all day to start ripping downfield if they do that. It's going to be an interesting year nonetheless. So, Kyle, Shea, I appreciate you guys. On the next episode, we're going to be talking about the Eagles. We're going to talk about the Chiefs. We're going to talk about the Raiders. So stay tuned. Gentlemen, thank you guys so much for having you, and we will see you next time on the LEGNDZ Fantasy Football Podcast.
Hey,
Thanks for popping in, Kyle.
Real quick, if any of you guys have any interest in playing my version of fantasy football, Clubhouse Fantasy Football, check out clubhouse.gg, KLUBHOUSE.gg. On Instagram, Clubhouse Fantasy Sports. I post little reels. That's how you guys found me. I'm trying to be funny. I'm trying really, really hard, which I think is the key to comedy. But
For sure.
if you are also interested, we have our own podcast, the Clubhouse Fantasy Sports Podcast. We started it just to talk shit to our league mates, but this year we're going to be going over how the game develops, because this is the first year that we've had other people playing it. So if you are interested at all, hit me up on any of that stuff, follow me on any of that stuff, and let me know if you guys want to play, because we are almost filled up. So thanks again for having me, guys.
Sounds good, man.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, y'all.